Conscious Conversion is a weekly podcast about how we bridge the gap between business and spirit, money and meaning, technology and regeneration in a wildly changing world. In a time of so much polarity and uncertainty, this podcast explores how together we are connecting across the planet, across our differences, and across dimensions as we build the new earth together. I am Sarah Yamtich. I am your host here at Conscious Conversion Podcast, and I am absolutely delighted and honored to bring to you my dear guest, Amanda Johnson, who is a very dear friend of mine. And hold on a second. This is my first time using this music stuff, so I'm just going to turn it down. And so professional. So I want to introduce to you my dear friend, Amanda Johnson. We have lived together. We have worked together. We continue to work together in some capacities. We talk about everything. We coexist on the spiritual plane and the physical plane. And Amanda is what is your title again, my love?
Chief Inspirational Officer.
I love that. She is the Chief Inspirational Officer for Awaken Village Press, where they do everything from editing and ghostwriting to publishing your book. And we work together because sometimes I have clients that also want to write a book, and sometimes she has clients that also want to do digital marketing. So we are a force to be reckoned with, the two of us, a power to be reckoned with.
That we are.
And anyway, I'm going to pass the stick over to you, Amanda, so you can introduce yourself in ways that I didn't do off the cuff.
I love it. Well, we've got the howler monkeys in the background, so let's see if they want to chime in. Yes, I mean, Sarah and I have known each other now for a while. And during that time, we have both just, in my opinion, expanded and grown and we've come into greater alignment. I feel like you and I really walk many parallel experiences, even though sometimes we're doing it side by side and sometimes we're doing it far apart. But yes, I have had the pleasure of founding and slowly and organically growing Awaken Village Press, an indie publishing company, again, with the mission to awaken the planet one book at a time. And I now have called myself the Chief Inspirational Officer because that's really, truly what I feel my role and my gift is to inspire and to activate, and not only the company, but each and every author that we have the privilege and pleasure of working with or crossing paths with. I am an author myself. I published my first book back in 2016, and I continue to write slowly but surely. I'm going to be working on my second book this year, and we'll see when more subsequent books want to come into the world. So yes, between getting to grow a beautiful company now with more team members and partners, getting to collaborate with people like Sarah and other incredible change makers and thought leaders in the world, and working on other projects like my own book, I keep myself pretty busy, and I got to keep this thing in because it wants to keep popping out. My little AirPod here, when we were talking about these new earbuds here.
Yes. Okay. So a big topic that we have here is technology, which we'll get to. But oh my gosh, technology in this world. Amanda and I both live in Costa Rica. We both used to live together in Puerto Viejo and as neighbors in Puerto Viejo as well. And I have since moved across the country and I'm closer to the Pacific side. But it's lovely to see that jungle background behind you, love. And if we hear some howler monkeys, or if there's a lag time or the internet goes out or video gets all wonky, this is part of leveraging technology in the natural world.
That's right. Nature and technology in one, baby. That's right.
Thank you so much for being here with me. I feel like it's so abundantly clear why our missions are so aligned, as you are awakening the world one book at a time. And we are working to usher in the new earth paradigm through digital marketing and whatever other beautiful means that we've got. And so I just want to dive into starting to ask questions sort of about what got you here. Like how did spirit and business merge for you?
Oh, wow. I'm seeing myself when you ask that question, I see myself in 2015, 2016, like sitting on the floor of my like in a bedroom in my parents' house. Like I'm pretty sure you could call it my rock bottom moment, one of my rock bottom moments, but maybe my deepest. And um I had been kind of without consistent or traditional work, you could say, for about 2 years because I'd left my corporate job and the things that felt very stable, quote unquote, back in 2014. And I had, been on that kind of journey of WTF. What am I to do now for about, by this point, a year and a half, 2 years. And I just remember sitting on that floor, and I don't know why this image came to mind first, but it did, so I'm going with it. And just being in like deep prayer, meditation, maybe contemplation, surrender, and just sitting there like like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm like meant to do, but I knew without a shadow of the doubt that I was here to do something that mattered and that was going to have an impact and that was going to leave a mark on the world and was going to feel deeply aligned with my soul. Because if anything, that's what I had started to understand over those, 2 years was what I had been doing was fine. It was interesting. I made money. I enjoyed it. I was using my gifts. I felt like I wasn't overly burnt out or anything like that. So it didn't like hit me in that way. I didn't like reach a place in my life where I was like, oh my God, if I don't quit, I'm going to like, die. It was more just an opportunity presented itself and I followed that. And so all of a sudden I'm sitting there going like, all I know is that whatever I'm going to do in the world is going to feel, first of all, deeply aligned with who I am and what my values are and my mission on the planet, whatever that may be. And I want it to feel, I remember sitting there in prayer and going, I feel it can happen organically, it can happen naturally. It doesn't have to fit into a mold or a box. And I remember having a thought that maybe in some time in the future, I was like, I wonder if at some point in the future, I'm going to get to look back on this journey and share my experience because it won't have unfolded the way that I thought it had to, or maybe how other people think it needs to. Like, you gotta hustle and it's gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta be an overnight success, or if you aren't, I don't know, like this word hustle or like kind of like just killing myself to make a difference. I thought, what if it doesn't have to look like that? So for me, that was infusing spirit with business and infusing spirit with my mission. And it has taken the time it's taken. We're now 2022. So, 6 years later, and yet I feel like I'm already able to start to say that. I can look back and say, wow, the journey has definitely had its ups and downs. But every step of the way, I do feel like I'm in alignment. I am being supported by something greater than me, and I am very much on purpose and on mission, and it's happening naturally, organically. It's literally the universe, spirit, God, source is saying, okay, here's the next bit. All right, here's the next bit, and I feel that to me is what I want. It's what I've always wanted. So here we are.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And I mean, I don't know about you personally, but I really, maybe it's all the plant medicine that I commune with, but I definitely feel deeply that the microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. And I think that you and I both have experienced that surrender moments are the most profound moments in our lives. And I'm curious what you think about how we can take that microcosm of the surrender moment that transforms us, and how can we then apply that as a collective when there's
Mm.
so much fucking crazy shit happening in the world.
Ugh. All I know is I have goosebumps as you asked the question. So I don't know. There's obviously something in there. Something in there wants to be expressed. Okay. Whew, yeah. I mean, What I want to offer is this, as we practice those surrender moments in our daily life, in our little microcosm of daily existence, and whether that is surrendering to the fact that the internet's not working today, or that the client that I want to bring on is taking 6 months to sign a contract, or whatever, like just these moments of surrender of, oh, all right, cool, this thing is going to happen in my life. Um, well, first of all, just starting with those small moments is for me that's the work, and that's where the transformation occurs. I feel sometimes we can get stuck, or I've been even stuck in this thought that it has to be this like big, again, kind of big moment of surrender. Like, okay, I do think I think we'll reach those moments, and sometimes we'll be maybe even forced into those moments at times, right? So it's not to say there's anything wrong with those bigger moments of surrender, but as we do that in our little worlds, in our personal worlds, I do believe there's a ripple effect, and I see it from a collective. I think there is so much resistance. There is so much resistance, and the just the resistance to what is, and the resistance. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean we have to like everything that's happening, or that we have to be in full agreement. Like, there might be things happening in the world that we're like, oh, that is not what. Nope, that's not okay. That doesn't feel good with my body, with anything. Like, I don't have to be like, yay, that's not surrender. I mean, for me, surrender is just going, it is what is right now. Like, this is what's happening. And how can I either put myself in a place where I flow with that, meaning maybe I maybe I even like go in a different direction than that. I don't know. Like, maybe I actually flow around it, or maybe I do go through it with a certain sense of compassion or acceptance. And again, acceptance not meaning I accept the behavior or the action, but I'm accepting it's what's here. And so maybe I now need to take action in a certain way, or I need to say something. Sometimes surrender is actually doing something, right? That's the other piece. Sometimes we surrender by taking action. It's like, okay, I know for me, a lot of my resistance is I resist saying the thing or doing the thing, right? So to surrender to that is to have the conversation, to say the
Mm.
uncomfortable thing, to take that step toward whatever it is that I want. And the other thing that was coming through as I'm on this little rambling answer is, for some reason I was in this private retreat at the end of 2021, and I was, creating a lot of space for information to come through, and downloads, and I was doing some journaling, and at some point I had this like aha moment once again of what suffering is. And I know not that suffering is the exact same, but I do think when we are in resistance, which I believe is one definition of suffering, when we resist what is, and we suffer, is one potential definition. But the other definition that came through is that it's when we resist our humanity. And very specifically, this like came through. It's like, we're human. We live in a human and other world of this 3D. We're in the 3D dimension along with others, but we're definitely here playing in the 3D. We're in the material world. There is duality. There is pain. There is, all of the things. There are liars and cheaters and, philanthropists and monks, and we have all of it. And to in some way resist that the person I am, or the person I'm working with, or the person, my client or my lover or whomever is imperfect or human, or sometimes they lie, or sometimes they let me down, or sometimes they, you know what I mean, whatever. I notice that I'm like, oh, I suffer when I'm in resistance to that truth and reality. And then, anyway, I'm seeing how that also right now is coming back to like utilizing the things we have in this very human world, right? Like, we've got it. Like, we don't have to resist it. We don't have to fight against it. Um, anyway, I'm seeing
So
that
much
connected
came
to
up for me while you were
technology.
talking. So much, exactly. So much came up for me while you were talking. One is I just want to say, I mean, okay, so Amanda's my first real interview, because I had the first episode where I had Valentina join to sort of help me talk to a camera and to a microphone without, I don't do so well when I don't have another person there. But you're my first interviewee, and one of the reasons for that is because I feel so you have this beautiful way of accepting anything that's happening in the moment, almost all the time. Almost all the time. You have this beautiful, we all have our moments, but you have a beautiful way of accepting what is. You really do. I
Mhm.
mean, and that's why I think it was easy for us to live together a lot of the time, and it was easy for us to work together, even though we've been through a lot together, even though we've been through things that are a little bit like other people might have been like, "Fuck that." We were like, nope, I love you for who you are. I love you for all of it. And I feel that from you. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful for it. So thank you.
Mhm.
I hope you can receive
Mhm.
that because it's so true.
Thank you.
And then the other thing that came up for me while you were talking was, yeah, the technology piece, because that's a huge topic, because
Yeah.
here I am running a digital marketing agency while at some points trying to live off grid. What the fuck? And at other points, just living in Costa Rica chasing Wi Fi. And really, really deeply in my heart, wanting to live more in harmony with nature and trying to figure out how to do that with the technology and with social media, which is owned by you know who, and like all this stuff. And yeah,
Mhm.
how can we take that philosophy of surrendering and accepting what is in front of us and
Mhm.
using that to create the new paradigm or
Yeah.
the world that we wish to live in? And is that a part of the world we wish to live in? Sorry, too many questions in one. I'll let you just take
Well,
that and run.
I'm the queen of asking like 4 questions in one, so then I'm like, "Oh, there you go. Good luck." Um, that's my Gemini moon, I think. I don't know. I'm like carrying on 4 conversations simultaneously. I would say, I mean, I think what I believe is yes, this technology is a part of it. And actually, what I want to say is, I'm going to put it back to you. I mean, meaning like, I want to highlight you, Sarah. Like when I met you, that's one of the things I loved about what you were doing, what you were and are doing in the world is merging, like really, truly merging these two realms. Um, spiritual and digital. Like, hello, that's amazing. That's just, and what gets me so excited about the work you are doing and those on your team and your clients and because if like the technology exists, it is what is. We may as well utilize it. We may as well um like yeah, we may as well use it to share the messages we want. Like I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. Yes, I'm somewhat psychic at times, but I'm not gonna sit here and say like, "Oh, this whole social media thing is gonna come to an end." As it stands right now, it doesn't look like it is, and it doesn't mean that we can't course correct, and it doesn't mean that we can't, create new platforms, and all of those things are already happening, and so that's great. And why not, um, use what we have to at least share what matters most that will impact the new paradigm and that will start to bring it into greater awareness, greater amplification, to use your language. Like i I think it's great. I mean, I'm hardly on social media, and yet when I'm on social media and I see someone who is, sharing what I feel is a truth about their experience, or a new way of looking at something, or just, and I'm not even saying everyone is doing this who we might think is doing it, but I am saying there are people doing, somebody is doing this. There are people out there doing this where at least we get to see them in their authenticity and in their vulnerability and in their deep gratitude for this existence. And the howlers are totally agreeing with me right now, because I do believe it's here for us. And I think that's part of it. Like, I've living in Costa Rica for almost 2 years now has really brought me deep into a deeper connection with nature. I mean, like, as you can tell, I don't ever have to make a point to go to nature or to find nature. It's like it's just constantly here. And
It's
most of the
invading
time
your house
it's
every day.
invading my house. It's like growing in. It's like coming in the cracks. I mean, we're ushering spiders and, little things out of the house all day long. And it's as if, and what's really fun is like, but I'm not like going and sitting in the jungle. I'm not just like going and sitting. I'm like on my laptop looking at the jungle. You know what I mean? I'm literally, I feel like what Costa Rica has done for me, it has shown me how how any two things, but how the paradox of life, or the duality of life, does actually um, happen, like how it occurs every single moment, every single day. So yes, I I don't even know if I answered any of your questions, but I'm just recognizing that to me, nature and technology being something else that we have created, And yet we as humans are part of nature. And so, yes, let's, use it. And can we use it mindfully? And can we use it intentionally? And can we be aware of, where we're attached too much? I mean, like everything, I think Ram Dass talks about this. Like everything is here for us as like our, he has a word for it. It's a Sanskrit word that I can't remember. Maybe you know it. Not sadhana. It's like the work, right? It's like everything can be that. Everything can be that in our world. So whether that's like you're a digital nomad or you're a digital marketer or you're, a housewife or you're a gardener or you're whatever, like you get to use that thing to do the work, that inner work of coming into greater um, awareness and greater evolution and move us into the new paradigm, into the new earth.
Beautiful. I was just listening to Ram Dass last night and this morning, so that was really fun that you brought him up. I
Yay!
literally listened to an interview with him on Spotify last night. It was so good. I freaking
I
love
love
him. And
him.
then this morning
Love
he
him.
came up in my, I consider with my Spotify in the mornings, I consider it like an oracle because things come up and I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed. Anyway, Ram Dass was a part of that this morning. I am
Love it.
loving awareness. I am loving awareness. I am
I'm
loving
loving
awareness.
awareness.
I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. Anyway, that's Ram Dass. Um,
That's right.
so I feel like what you just said is a good segue into this question that I have, which I think is so important for each of us to answer and to visualize together. And that's part of the mission of this podcast and this conversation is to, for each of us to really, really, really dive into what is our own vision for the new paradigm, for a new way of
Mm,
being, for the new earth. And what does it feel like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like?
mm,
And can we hold that vision together? And the more we talk
mm,
about it and the more we feel it and the more we, like really, really embody it, the more we can bring it into being. So I
mm.
want to hear from you, Amanda. What is your vision? And I know there's infinite ways you could answer that, so it can just be a tiny, tiny piece of it. And I'm sure there's so much more that could come. But what comes to mind first when you think about the new world that
Yeah.
you want to see?
Two things are common. This, I am really, and I'm noticing I'm getting clearer and clearer on this, specifically in the work I'm doing in the world. And I mean, so there's a kind of, that's why maybe it's coming up for me more, is this I desire in our new earth, in our new paradigm, that people feel free to share their truth and that it can look and feel different than what has always been. So to feel freer to express themselves and what matters and what they want to see more of. I mean, so it's like my desire is, in a way, what you're asking people to do. I'm seeing so much in my little part of the, life, the Leela, as Ram Dass says, like in my little part of the dance is that there's so many people who have something to say and they're not saying it. Maybe they're afraid to say it. They aren't clear what it is that they want to say. Um, on and on and on, right? They don't think it would matter, and it's like I just want to empower and inspire and activate people to express themselves more freely with compassion and love. I mean, of course, like I don't want just anger and fear-based expression. I want loving, compassionate, even if it's compassionate anger, to be expressed. And I want that to come from our hearts and what really matters most to us. And with that, we hear about the word sovereignty a lot, and I've done my own kind of assessment of, well, what does it mean for me? Like, what is sovereignty? And I think it means something different to everyone, and that's great. For me, it's knowing that I get to choose and I get to live my life as I choose, as I desire, in as how it feels good for me. So for me, that's living in Costa Rica. For me, it's whatever. Doing certain types of work, not listening to certain things, not paying attention to certain things, right? Like that's my choice. And I'm sovereign to have that choice. That's my sovereign right as a human. And it's your sovereign right to choose to live how you want to live. Again, I'm not saying I have to like it. I'm not saying I have to agree with what your choices are. And yet you have a choice. You have the choice. And if you can feel empowered to live from that choice. That's what I want to see more of in this new paradigm. I want to see less thoughts or beliefs of I'm a victim, I'm being controlled, I have no power, them against, it's them against us. Like my view of a new paradigm, a new earth is that it's us against us, or it's them against, I mean, it's like we're all in it, and we all have the right to be separate, and we can do that from a place of love and compassion and understanding, because we know ultimately we're all connected. And so great, let's just understand we're truly connected. So it's okay if you go do that thing and I go do this thing. I honor you, I respect you as a human, because I honor and respect myself first. And that's what I want to see more of in the new paradigm. And that's the first time I've ever said that. So that feels
Yes.
good.
Yes. Well, you know what? If everything is an expression of source or God or what universe, whatever you want to call it, each of us is a part of that, and we're each a creative expression of that. And your mission, I mean, is to make sure that each potential creative expression of source, of God, of the divine is free to express, and isn't blocked, and is fully self-expressed. And that is amazing, and it's, I think, absolutely critical for the new paradigm, because if we're moving more towards, you know owning and knowing and feeling and being in our own sovereign divinity, then that creative self-expression is absolutely necessary. And it's beautiful, because actually moving to Costa Rica was a huge step for me in that direction. Something about living in Puerto Viejo really like inspired my fullest self-expression. And you were a big part of that. We met very shortly after I moved there. I want to know about how Awaken Village Press is. I mean, I feel like I can see it, but I want to hear from you how Awaken Village Press is helping to actualize that vision.
Yeah. What I'm seeing happen is that, and I've had a few authors, reflect this back to me, and also, just in conversation, see it myself, that they are feeling that they are feeling empowered, to share their truth, to share their message that may or may not resonate with everybody. It's almost like we attract, the author or the messenger, who has that, like, it might ruffle a few feathers, right? And it actually, not even might, like, it will. More than likely, almost many of the books we've published to date, and many more that are coming, I can see, are here. And then that's not the intention. It's not like I'm here to say, let's just poke people, though I am that. I know I am that. I
You
embody
are
that
so
sometimes.
pokey sometimes,
I
for
am
sure.
such a poke. I'm
You
pokey. I'm
really,
like,
yeah,
ooh, let's
it's
go right
true,
there.
y'all.
Let's
It's true. It's awesome.
it's annoying
It's
AF,
annoying as
and
fuck,
it's
but it's
also,
good.
and some days I'm like, why did I sign up for this role? This sucks, man. All right, okay. But what's actually, I just did my strengths finder. I'm going to come back to your question, but I just did my strengths finder. It's been like, I don't know, 10 years since I did it last time. I don't know. But I think they're still the same. My first strength is activator. Now, activator can be a very positive thing. Like, I activate, it's like, I activate ideas, I activate people, but activation can feel super crunchy sometimes too. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times, instead of saying I'm triggered, I'll say I'm feeling really activated right now. Like, I'm like, ooh, I'm feeling really activated in my body. So it's not, I mean, I chuckle now because I just made that connection, that I used to say I trigger people. I do, but you could also say I activate people, right?
Or
Because sometimes
stimulate. I've been
I
replacing the word
stimulate.
trigger and
Ooh,
challenge and difficulty with stimulation. So I think
but that's it, right? Because it's
similar,
all
yeah.
just energy, and so it's how we define it. Absolutely. So yeah, like, I love that. So going back to, I believe Awaken Village Press, first and foremost, is an extension of me, right? Like any of us, conscious conversion is an extension of you. It's you in another form, right? I believe Awaken Village Press is me in another form, and so it's going to carry a lot of my qualities. And I do believe we, as a company, are going to attract activators, right? We're going to attract those people and messages that are here to stimulate, activate, maybe even trigger. And I'm seeing that again, not because I want to just go around upsetting people, but sometimes, and like I had this experience last weekend. I got really angry about something. I was triggered. I was activated. I was stimulated. And I was like, ooh, that hurts. I don't know if I don't want to look at it, but I need to. And it put me into action, right? It just like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing now, which was great. And so if our authors have a message that maybe will activate something within them, maybe it will activate something within the world, we're here to do that. And we're not here to like water it down, right? We're not here to say, well, let's just make sure. Like I have a lot of Libra in my chart. I love harmony. I love balance. I really love people that get along and like me, and I like to like people. And so I don't want to just be putting content in the world that, again, is going to upset people for no reason. But I also don't want to water it down or mute it. I don't want them to feel like they can't express themselves fully. I am here on a mission, and I believe the company expresses this or carries this forward, that we are here to express who we truly are, who we truly are. And so, again, that's not the victim, and that's not the perpetrator, and that's not the, whatever we may have identified with in the past. Who we truly are is source energy, expressions of the divine, and we are here with a unique, individuated purpose. And what is that purpose, and how can we share that? And so I want our company to continue to bring those messages into the world in book form, and then of course maybe one day in other forms. But for right now, we're bringing it in the form of books and language. Did I answer your question?
Totally. I love it.
Easy.
Do you have like a really salient example of one of the books that y'all have published that really spoke to your heart and made an impact that you want to share?
Yeah, I'm going to give you two examples because I feel like they're going to help balance things out. I'm going to give you one. We have an author, Mike McGinnis. You've met him, you've had him on your previous podcast, and he has written a book called The Essential Revolution, and he's working on his second book now called The Invitation. And when you say it spoke to my heart, well, it definitely stimulated my heart. Like I was in so much stimulation and activation reading that book.
Totally.
And not just because of the content, right? I mean, the content itself is like, oh, okay. But because of what it was really inviting me to look at and to sit with, like my journey with, and this is the other thing I believe we as a company are here for. It's not just about publishing books, right? That's like, again, it's like for you, you guys aren't just putting, Facebook ads into the world. Okay. There's a whole journey that's happening with you and your team and your clients, like same with us. And so, for me, that book is one example of the type of message that we're putting into the world, and equally how that literally not only transformed the author Mike. I feel I can say that I believe he would agree with that, but it transformed me working on it. Like I was transformed through the journey and the process of working on that book with him. And so, and the message itself is very, I think, important for this time in history and what we're experiencing. The other example is a book that we're going to be publishing in February called The Priestess Transmissions. And again, this book came to me and I was immediately like, and that one it was a much easier pill to swallow, if you will. It resonated with me. So instead of maybe activating something within me that I was not wanting to look at, it actually activated something within me that I really wanted to look at. That like, holy shit, I carry the priestess template, like, or the archetype. I mean, and they were able, like, by that book coming into my world, I also got to see more of who I truly am, right? These books reveal that to me, as well as to the author, as well as to the audience and the readers. And so this book came in, I believe, and I feel the authors have both, there's a co-authored book. They've both shared how important this is, that they get to say this and they don't have to, they get to trust that how it's coming through is perfect, and it's how it's meant to be, and they get to express this fully. And and I just know that it was in their reading of my Akashic records that said Awaken Village Press is here to be a platform for the unadulterated truth, and they put themselves in that category, right? Their book being one of that, one of the examples of that, this the truth that was coming through Amy Belair in the form of these transmissions for the priestess archetype. So that's another one. That's an example. And two very, very different examples.
Oh my God. I mean, one is
Night and day.
so masculine, right? In so many ways. And one is so feminine in so many ways. And I love that. I love that you brought both of those two examples. And I just, yeah, I mean, this podcast and these conversations, I'm so excited about. This is so much fun to talk about with people with entrepreneurial souls, people who are really like trailblazing in their own in their own ways, and full like working on that self-actualizing path, to empower people, to empower themselves, to create a new way of living. Because like the old world is totally crumbling, and the people that you're choosing to bring forth are people who are absolute visionaries. Absolute visionaries. Both of those books, both of those concepts, all of those authors, I know they are doing real transformative work in the world. And so I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for you being the book doula that helps to birth that into the world. And hopefully someday maybe
Thank you.
I'll have the gumption to be a part of that.
All in divine timing, baby. All in divine timing. I have to say often, and when you've met my new business partner, but it's so funny that like, when we talk about like the sales cycle or, and so any, entrepreneurs out there, this, right? You've got that sales cycle. You've got that, from when they first meet you and it's like mine can be years in the making. And I have no problem with that. It's fun to be on the path and on the journey. So one day.
Absolutely. Well, how about will you express to us now, like what is going on with Awaken Village Press now? If there's anything that is, particularly relevant right now for listeners to hear or experience or be a part of. I'm sure that somebody listening here has a book burning in their hearts and in their souls that needs to be expressed. Maybe they don't even know it yet. And what
I
could
know.
you do to help them?
Well, what I would say is yes, you may already know if you do, and you know who you are. You may not know yet, but if something that I said or something that Sarah said about that just brought like tingles down your spine or goosebumps, again, that's probably a good indicator that this message could also be for you. So yes, if you have any desire, even just to have again a free discovery call. I've actually now been mandated this year to just get on as many calls and have as many conversations as possible. So you will do me a favor to like have a call because I'll show that I'm doing my part. So you're doing me a favor if you book a call with me, and there's no obligation or expectation on the other side of it. But yes, if you are interested, I'm probably just your first line of defense. You can go to awakenvillage.com or follow us on Instagram at Awaken Village Press. Reach out, DM, book a call. That's probably one avenue at any point if you and when you're listening to this. Something that's a bit more time bound, depending on when you're listening to this podcast episode, is this March 2022. We are doing our next writers retreat to reveal and express yourself here in Costa Rica. And it's super exciting to be revisiting these in-person containers after a couple of years not doing that. So super, super excited about our 5 days in Costa Rica, where you will be held and guided and supported in, again, identifying maybe more clearly what it is you want to say. We have people coming who they just know they need to write a book. They don't know what it's about. So we have everything from that to, people who are like nearly done with their manuscript. And this is this time and space to carve out, devote to that passion, to that mission. So anyway, you can always learn more again at our on our website at awakenvillage.com/retreat. So those are a couple opportunities right off the top of my head.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your gifts with the world and for doing your part to bring in the new paradigm, the new earth. And it's an honor to be in it with you, my love.
The same. You literally have been a guide, like a guiding light for me. And I can say that when, again, I did not live in Costa Rica when I met Sarah. And I remember watching her probably sitting in this exact spot.
Yeah, she took my house, y'all.
And I took her house. I took her
gave
house,
it over
just
willfully.
stepped right into it. You just handed it over. But I remember being on a Zoom call with this woman and seeing this background and being like, one day. And I mean, literally here I am. Like, I can't even, like, the universe is so fun. Um, anyway, so from the very beginning, you have been walking, I feel like, just ahead of me and definitely blazing the trail and giving me so much inspiration and then turning around and being like, oh my God, let me tell you what just happened. I fell in that puddle. Watch out. And I'm like, oh,
Watch
okay. All
out
right.
for
I'm going
that
to walk
puddle.
around it. I'm going to walk around it. Thanks. Thanks for the heads up. Got it.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank
So
you.
then
Thank you.
sometimes I've
Thank
like
you.
gotten in front of you and like picked you up out of the puddle and like let you
You
get
have. I
up.
was
But then
gonna
like
say
it
that.
just,
I was gonna say, it's a two-way street sometimes. I have had my dark nights of the soul where I'm calling Amanda and saying, "Help me up."
and I'm like, oh, hold on. Yeah. But all of it truly, I mean, the work you're doing in the world, how you keep showing up, who you attract into your world. I mean, yeah, it is such an honor and it is such an inspiration for me. And it's more than a joy to get to collaborate. So I'm happy that your podcast is back on. I'm really excited to see what is coming next for you and your company and all of your clients and collaborations and beyond. So it has been my pleasure. And thank you so much for playing a very important role in my life.
Oh, beautiful. With that, I'm going to try to start this music again and see if that makes a nice outro. Let's see how it goes. Thank you for listening to Conscious Conversion. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you all for listening. Big love.